what would you like to see change if you from this look you're seeing on stage here in Texas tonight to the Olympia? What improvements would you like to see him make?
I would like to see him bigger.
I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Heavy Muscle Radio, special edition, direct from Texas, minutes after the IFBB Texas Pro let out, and Andrew Jack is the new champion. We have Chris Aceto here with Andrew Jack in the hotel room following the show. It doesn't get much more exciting than that, Chris.
Yeah, it's here we are. You know, Andrew pulled it off and headed to the Olympia.
Look at that trophy. Holy mackerel. How are you going to get that home?
Well, it's the same thing like last year. I know a way to get it home. So easy.
Yeah? You can get that all the way to Dubai?
I just have to get a bag and put it in there, and that's it.
I think it should go on Chris's mantelpiece. Maybe Chris, you should hold that for him. Well, he brings home the Olympia Sandow, right?
Yeah, that's, it's all options are on the table.
Now, for those of you who might be living under a rock, the Texas Pro is tonight. Andrew needed to do this show to qualify for this year's Mr. Olympia competition. He had a tough competition in Hunter Labrada coming off the Tampa Pro win 2 weeks ago. Obviously, we had some other competition in the lineup as well from guys like Carlos Jr. But it was a two-man race. From all the videos I've seen, Chris, tell me what the deciding factor. Hunter looked shredded to the bone. Andrew was probably the best I've ever seen him. What were the judges thinking? Have you talked to anyone? What was the final decision?
No, I didn't. The final decision was, obviously Andrew won, but I didn't talk to any of the judges because, you're just comparing after pre-judging and finals, two different looking physiques, with their own strengths, and at their best. And, it's like Andrew said, after prejudging, when we were headed over to the night show, he said, which I love this, perspective. He said, someone's going to win tonight. In other words, I'm going to win or I'm not going to win. And, if you win, you try to get better. And if you don't win, you can't regret it, and you can't let it, gnaw on you. You have to get, focus on yourself and go forward. So it's just that statement is a small statement, but it speaks volumes and wisdom in terms of, like I always say, let the chips fall where they're going to fall. You try to bring your best, and you hope that the judges think your physique is the best on stage that day.
I got to tell you, when I looked at the pictures, I saw them posing down in the. I should probably pull up some footage of this. All I thought of was Haney versus Lee Labrada back in the day, and Haney used to always say, "What did he say about a good big man?"
A good big man will always beat a good small man. It's funny. I used to a couple people. They asked me, "What does Andrew look like?" And I said, "His back looks like Lee Haney's." And it's stunning to say that because it didn't look like Lee Haney's in March.
Nope.
And that was April, May, June, July, August. So it was 20 weeks ago. He brought that body part up, and I think his back is his back double is. I mean, he's got a lot of shots, but it's just a really strong shot for him now.
You've been sending me shots all week long, and you swore me to secrecy. I couldn't show anyone, but they were very, very impressive. I mean, here's the front and back double bicep. We're going to get Andrew in here in 2 seconds, but I want to just put this up on the screen here. I mean, this kind of says it all, doesn't it? Right here.
I mean, I thought it says it all. You can ask Andrew, but the judges said, seemed to think it said, I think this was an extremely close show on the judging scorecards. They put them through 5 rounds at night.
Right. Andrew, how did your back get so good in less than, what was it, 6 months, maybe? Less than 6 months?
I would say from the Olympia heading up to the Arnold and until now, I think I've been having significant improvements due to the master plan that we have. So I think that's what has been working, because just one head can do everything. 2 heads is better than 1, but 3 heads, it's awesome.
What do you think you were doing wrong that you now are doing right? Because I don't think I've seen a guy at your stage of your career who's made the improvements you made in such a short period of time, coming off another bodybuilding show, nonetheless.
I would say I think I discovered the right path, and I'm still heading towards there. I'm still on the way. Right. So yeah.
Lee Haney told me when I asked him, I said, why did you make so many improvements on your last Olympia? From the second to last Olympia, the number 7 to number 8, when he had a face, I said, was it that fact that Dorian Yates was going to be in the show that made you train harder? And he said, no. He goes, I discovered something about my training. I was overtraining, and I gave my body more rest. I trained intensely, but I didn't overtrain, and I grew. It had nothing to do with Haney. It had nothing to do with Dorian, because I was only focused on myself. Would you say that was a revelation you made about your training?
Who, me?
Yes.
I wouldn't say it's a revelation. I would say it's just a reality check. It's just facts.
Were you overtraining, you think? Are you training better, more wisely now?
I think I started to be a bodybuilder when I started prepping for this year's Arnold.
Okay.
And following that right path of bodybuilding, which takes you completely off your comfort zone, completely off your preference. I think that's where significant results started happening, because all through of last year I was still doing the same thing that I was doing, because I built base by myself. I had no one. I built myself by myself. And yeah.
Who do you credit with helping you with your training the most?
I would say both goes together, because training isn't just gonna do it, anything. Your nutrition and diet plays a huge factor. You know what I mean? So yeah. So I think both goes both ways. So both Chris is playing a significant part in there.
No, I've seen a lot of videos with you at the gym you train at in Dubai, training with a lot of top-level bodybuilder guys. And it seems like you guys are pushing each other. And I always felt, and Chris knows I'm a big believer in this, and Chris is too, that when you have a training partner who's at a similar level to you, it's like, and you guys are battling with each other in the gym, it's a little more stressful, but for some reason, it seems like you get more out of the workouts. Do you notice that?
Yeah, but for me, right from the beginning, I've always been a solo act. Even when I started with laterals, I've always been a solo act, because it's hard to find someone that can keep up. I'm like a diesel engine. The first half an hour, 1 hour, I'm like weekend time, but when the body picks, it just keeps going.
He's another Serge Dubray, right, Chris?
Yeah, it's funny. There's also he said he's a solo.
Yeah.
Solo.
Yeah.
Dave, this is
solo diesel engine. That was the quote.
He's a solo.
I said I'm a diesel engine.
Yeah, but what would you say that? You're solo what?
I'm a solo rider. I ride alone. Yeah.
Yeah, he rides alone. Dave, I've prepped gazillion people,
right.
And
this is good. This is good.
Oh yeah. And I can tell you that I've never seen anyone with Andrew. I've gotten fights with families to kick them out of rooms. I've gotten fight with sponsors to kick them out of rooms. I've gotten fight with spouses to kick them out of rooms. I've gotten fight with training partners to kick them out of rooms. Meaning, can I please, be in the room with someone and just try to like focus on that person who's getting ready for the show the last few days. And Andrew has never had a training partner outside of Chris Lewis. He's not had another individual, not only in the room, but walking from the room to the, event, from the event to be picked up. He's a solo rider, and the reason I comment on that, Dave, is, people listen to the show know how many times, whether it's bodybuilding or focusing on yourself or, trying to raise families, I've always say, listen, distractions, 2023, everything is so distractive when you're trying to, focus on a goal, whether it be, winning a show or, doing something that you want to, for yourself to be successful in. Distractions. And a lot of people bring distractions, and it's amazing to see and to hear him just comment, I'm a solo rider, because it's an attribute, it's a strength. Because as you know, I always say this too, is bodybuilding is mental. If you can't, you can do anything you want when you have the right genetics and you have the right focus and you have the right mindset. You can get your body to go where it wasn't meant to go. Yeah,
no, you're right. But sometimes that life could be a little lonely too. Andrew, do you feel like sometimes isolated because you do seem to do it on your own and you do keep to yourself? And I know you don't really talk much before the show. Obviously, after the show, it's nice to talk about what you did and your victory. But you're pretty much focused on your contest prep when you're doing it.
Yeah. The thing about me is, I'm just always channeled in. I'm doing, something. I'm just in there. It's just I try to connect the inside me and outer me to sync together.
Right.
So I just like I just let like both of them go together.
Let me ask you this question: when you're looking at this video footage of you posing down against Labrada, I'm sure you've seen some of this. What do you think, in your minds, had the judges choose you as the winner over Labrada here? Because Labrada was at his best. I think he was as good as he was in Tampa. You're at your best. Why do you beat Labrada here?
I would say Hunter was better here than Tampa. But I think it was just apples and oranges, and he came up with his best, we came up with our best, and it's just two gladiators fighting on stage, and the best man won. So
did you guys, I don't know if you guys saw the scorecards, it was a 1-point decision. Did you know that?
Yeah, because I think from the viewers' perspective, judges' perspective, fans' perspective, he got the back shots, I got the front shots. We both got 50-50 on side shots, and that was why they kept us going in rounds and rounds and rounds to see who, that we keep going. So I think that's where the edge comes from. So I'm just speaking on the basic. I'm not trying to be cocky.
Sure. Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
Chris,
also,
looking at
don't get me wrong, Hunter's phenomenal. But also he's been in the game longer than I have.
Sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
Chris, did you notice that Labrada was noticeably upset with the loss, or did he take it in stride?
No, I'm sure he was upset at the loss, just as I would be upset at the loss. Anyone would be upset at a loss, and when they, you have to be upset because you're never upset at a loss where you're convincingly not in first. But when they came out at night, and I think total they might have put them through maybe 7 total rounds. They started the night show with comparing them only 2, and I think they went through 5 rounds. And then at the end, I think they went through another couple rounds, or if not 3. So, isn't it hard? It's really easy to get 6th place and say I got to get better, and 3rd place and say good, I'm moving up. But it's hard to get 2nd by a point.
Was Andrew better in the prejudging or the night show?
I think he was better at the night show. I think he was a little fuller on the night show, and you know, I think fullness on that frame might have impacted the judges. Like, wow, that's a lot of size.
Yeah. Looking forward to the Olympia now. Obviously, knowing Andrew's genetic predisposition and his improved training style, as he suggested, I bet we see a bigger and better Andrew at the Olympia in November. Only he could probably gain muscle between shows like this. What would you like to see change from this look you're seeing on stage here in Texas tonight to the Olympia? What improvements would you like to see him make?
I would like to see him bigger. Because, I think his condition's great, and I think his flow is great, and he's the biggest man on stage, and you can be the biggest man on stage with that type of tie-ins, flow, and shape, and be just your biggest version, not sacrificing condition.
Right.
That's very dangerous, and I think that I have a photographic memory for what people look like at different, I could go through like 100 people who have won pro shows with me. And I can tell you what they look like on a Tuesday, on a Thursday, 5 weeks out, but I can't figure out what I did with my keys to the car. And, and I know what Andrew looked like the first pictures he ever sent me after the Olympia and what he did to the Arnold. And I was like, wow. And remember, he did that staying with Chris. That was a big, like he really came into his own for the Arnold. And then, he only went out there another 6 weeks, 6 weeks before this show. And, I went down to New York to see him 6 weeks out for a day. And then when I saw him here in person, I was like, wow, that's like all the mass and more that I saw 6 weeks ago with like condition, so it's like he dropped body fat and increased his size in 42 days, 6 weeks. Yeah. It's saying a lot about how his body responds to, a strict regimen of, training and diet and, rest and the whole 9 yards.
From what I saw, from what I witnessed in the pictures and the videos that I watched, I obviously wasn't there, and you can maybe validate this. It seemed like Andrew's midsection was better than Hunter's, and some people told me who were there that they felt that Hunter was suffering with controlling his midsection. Is that a weakness for Hunter? And do you think that could have been the point that turned the tide in Andrew's favor?
I think in a 1 point show you could nitpick anything. You could almost. I noticed Hunter came back with a great tan tonight. So if his tan wasn't good, you could say, was it the tan, or was it his midsection, or was it that he got tired?
Did you notice a problem with his midsection? I mean, in the show, or is that just an illusion?
Well, I think he has kind of a boxy midsection, but that's no different than when he's always had, quote, a more boxy midsection. Even when he won his pro card, I think it's only. I don't think it's fair criticism because you're going against the guy with the best midsection in the sport.
Yeah. Right.
So, the contrast is there where you say oh, his midsection's not good. Well, it's the same midsection we've been looking at for the greater part. Since he turned pro, you just happen to be going against someone who's got a crazy V taper.
I think it's better.
Yeah.
I think it's better because he learned the vacuum.
Yeah.
So it was better. Yeah, he worked on the vacuum.
What do you say, Chris?
He works on he pulls a vacuum now too, so it's actually.
I think that and this is something that just comes with the territory a lot of times. I mean, Andrew has a very big structure, so all that muscle is stretched out on a much bigger frame, which sometimes flows nicer. When bodybuilders like Hunter get to a point where they're starting to put on a lot of muscle, I think. At some point, sometimes the midsection does suffer a little bit. I think it happens to to all the bodybuilders at a certain degree. If you get big enough, it happened to Ronnie, it happened to Kai, right? I mean,
Jay, happened to Dorian. The other one that was exempt from it was Haney, I think.
Phil also, obviously.
Yeah, Phil. Yeah.
If you were advising, Hunter, obviously, which you're not, what do you tell Hunter to do for the Olympia? Just bring the same package?
Oh yeah, bring the same package. I mean, he's. I mean, it's. When all is said and done, how many times have I been critical of him on the show? Is like, gosh, condition's not there, and now he's bringing it in spades.
Yeah.
He came off 2 Olympias where, he's not dumb. He knows his condition wasn't there, which is sometimes you have to come in, off to be able to light that fire under your ass to come in, 200% on.
This was you can see this back double bicep is very dominant for him. You could, say that this show might have been the best show all year, including the Arnold, because of how close these two were and the battle they fought. I mean, this is what we've been hoping for at every single show that we've seen since the Arnold, right? And we just haven't gotten a battle like this. And now we finally have 2 potentially top 5 Olympian guys battling it out here for a title. I wonder, when I see a 1-point decision, Chris, I say to myself, what are the factors that would flip one judge to say this one's better or that one's better? Because 1 point is very close. And I have to believe also the fact that Andrew has to qualify for the Olympia didn't hurt him either, whereas Hunter was already qualified in Tampa. It's good to be able to have both of these guys in the lineup. It would be almost terrible if Andrew didn't win the show and Hunter took 2 qualification spots, and then Andrew would have to try to do another show at this point.
Well, I mean, they judged it. I mean, I think you mistakenly putting an asterisk next to. I mean,
no, I'm not doing that at all. I'm just pointing out an obvious, issue.
Yeah. Well,
my point is what I wanted to make was, would it be fairer at these pro shows if the second place guy, in other words, let's say the winner qualified already, wouldn't it be fairer for the second place guy to get the qualification spot?
Well, what if he's not a good second place spot guy?
Yeah, but he still ostensibly would have won the show if the guy who qualified was there already, or at least be the judge's option.
Yeah, that might be something to think about for them going forward. Is if someone's already qualified and they win a show, and because
especially of this caliber where the guys are so close together.
Well, I mean, what if Hunter had done Chicago? He would have won that. So there would have been another guy out of he would have won New York. I mean, you could say there's room to say technically, that could be an issue.
Absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about Carlos Thomas Jr. 3rd place at his pro debut. The guy has got all the tools you look for in a future, guy who's going to be a menace on that Olympia stage. What did you like about him? What does he need work on?
Well, Dave, I came up with the nicknames before Trump came up with all the nicknames. I used to have them for everyone in bodybuilding. And I ran into his father and I nicknamed him Dr. Richard. And he said, "Why do you call me Dr. Richard?" And I said, "Because you are like Serena and Venus Williams had their father Richard. You've had I've known you for I don't know how many years. You've been toting this kid around since he was like 150 pounds and telling me, this guy's going to be something. This guy's going to be something."
Yeah.
And he said, "Why? Well, why doctor?" And I said, "Because I want to make you feel more important than Richard Williams."
It's like, what's his name? J.M. Mannion calls Gary Udit Dr. Gary Udit.
Oh, does he? Yeah. I didn't know that. So, Carlos is, he's as thick as can be. And, what's happening here is he needs more time and he needs to refine his physique, and he has to continue to train and let his body simmer and mature. And I told his father, I said, "Listen, it's a great showing, and I know you're going to hear, well, you got to be harder, but a lot of that is muscle maturity, and it's like you can cook a pot roast, and it tastes different at 10 hours to cooking it for 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, and 12 hours, and it's still the same 5-pound pot roast. And it not only tastes different 10 hours in, it looks different.
Yeah.
And, just you can't be in a rush to with your physique, because what he needs is continue to train and focus on himself and allow his body to mature to a point where the quality and density looks different. And I will say that Hunter had shows for a few years now where people have been critical of his condition, and I think yes, his condition is a lot different and a lot better, but some part of that is muscle maturity. You know what I mean? Just when you're young, you have like less dense, less hard looking muscle than you do when you're older, and especially when you blow up quick. When you put on a lot of muscle, you get the roundness, but it doesn't have the the depth, the super depth and diamond type quality that it takes more time to build.
Well, I think that this is, if we look at his back double bicep shot, which was always his one weakness, I felt, because he didn't have the back detail. I see what him and his coach probably did. They came in fuller to give his muscles the round fullness because if he comes in dry, hard, and he's capable of it, because I've seen pictures at a week out or 2 weeks out where he was shredded. I think they filled him up a lot here to give his back more depth and more 3D. But what really needs to be done, Chris, is he needs more muscle back there. And when he gets more muscle back there, he can come in dry and shredded and hard the way the judges want to see him, and still be dense enough in the back to stand next to anyone on that stage.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
So I think this is a great pro debut for him. I know he was supposed to make his pro debut a couple months back, but he got sick. So this was a tough show. No one wants to do their pro debut at a show against Andrew Jacked and Hunter Labrada at their best. This literally could have been a win for Carlos had he competed earlier in the season. But I think that he has to consider this a victory. Would you suggest he shuts it down for the rest of the year or do another show?
I'd probably do another show just to, maybe learn something, because this sport's always about learning your body too,
Yeah.
And the body changes too, but it is about, learning your body. And unfortunately, as in bodybuilding, you only compete a couple times a year, where it's in, if it's basketball, you can learn what to do because you're playing games all the time. You're playing every twice a week.
Yeah.
And then same thing with like football or any sport, but the bodybuilding is just, there's not a lot of opportunity to learn your body, and it's probably a good idea to try to do another show and try, things that you might be in the back of your mind.
Right.
Well, maybe I should do this, 4 weeks out, or maybe I should do this 2 days out, or maybe I should do this, whatever it may be. And even if you fail, you're not failing when it's time to stand on the Olympia stage.
And people have to remember that Carlos started, at least when I was working with him, he was a middleweight not too long ago.
Yeah.
And so you've said over and over again, when you gain, 50 or 60 pounds of muscle in 3 or 4 years, it's sometimes not ready to look, like in 60 pounds of muscle. The maturity is not there. The roundness is not there. The depth is not there. And that takes time. You cannot rush that. You can put the muscle on, but you can't rush muscle maturity. That's just time of detention, so to speak. You got to train. And you might not gain any more muscle than what he weighs right now, but the look of that muscle will be completely different.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. So, it can only go up from here.
Yeah. Let's, I was very impressed, I'll tell you, with fourth place finisher Lewis Breed, because Lewis has really defied a lot of people's, predictive, I guess you could say, predictions for the show. I don't think anyone, was adding him to their top 5 at the last show, at this show, and he keeps coming in bigger and better. And I think he's a lot harder here than he was at the last show we saw him at. That's a real feather in his cap, to be able to, in a lineup like this against top Olympian guys, placed in the top 4. I think he can really say that this season for him was a super success.
He had super success. I'm not sure, but I don't think he was in like the first call out of 4. I know he wasn't in Tampa. So he
No, he
wasn't
worked
in
his way up.
Tampa, and then they moved him up, which
Sure.
means, this. Is his shape, does he have like great flow? No. But does he have dense, hard muscle? Yes. And so he kind of like gets left out of the first call out, but he's able to, claw his way back.
He actually lost to Jordan Hutchinson, who was in the 5th place finisher at the prejudging, and then he came back and beat him by quite a bit at the finals. So that's pretty impressive to be able to do that at this level. And I think he actually got some votes over Carlos Thomas at the final.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was, he had. I mean, talk about muscle maturity. He's got it in spades. He's got condition, density, rugged-looking muscle. So, I mean, it's no surprise that he had some 3rd place votes.
When you look at his physique and say to yourself, if I was advising him, where do I send him at this point? Would you like to see him do like some of these European shows that are coming up? I mean, I think that he would do very well there, to be honest. Maybe even win a couple of them.
You do all the shows you can in your first year out. If you're able to, if your body's able to respond.
Right.
If you're in that type of condition, because he can come in 3 pounds heavy, and maybe it's not his best condition, but it's still going to out-condition most of the people in the show.
Right. No, 100%. How did you like 5th place finisher Jordan Hutchinson?
He was also in great condition. I think this was his first pro show, right?
I think this was his pro debut, correct?
Yeah. Tough show to, show up in Texas.
Exactly.
I'm here for my baptism.
He took 2 years off,
Yeah, well, you know what? He had a plan, and he, obviously that was the right thing to do, to take 2 years off and come into a show like this and be in the top 5.
I actually, from the pictures, and like I said, I don't like to judge from the pictures because, you were there. He actually looked better than Louis Breed to me. I don't know, just structure-wise. I don't know.
He is better structure-wise, and I thought he could have, he could have flip-flopped into 4th.
Yeah. I think that Jordan must have. Louis Breed must have come back better at night because the judges seemed to favor him at night. So I don't know what the reason was, but obviously something flip-flopped in the way they looked at night. Overall, if you had to rate this show of all the shows you've seen, starting with the Arnold Classic, where is this show number 1, number 2? Where does it rank?
I mean, it's not the Arnold because it doesn't have the names and the headlines outside the top 2.
Yeah.
But it's just it's an exciting show, and I want to recognize Sid Faruki for just an unbelievable job emceeing. I can't tell you. He has Sid is a superstar in announcing, and he's a superstar in interviewing, and he forces energy into the room. He becomes part of the show rather than somebody who's standing and just naming off names. And when someone gets a trophy, come out and say like, "Oh, good, congratulations, how you doing? You work hard and everything. You want to recognize your husband or your wife." And I mean, he really is on a different level when it comes to insight, when it comes to energy, when it comes to interviewing people and getting them to open up, when it comes to getting the crowd involved. It's just, he's incredible.
And you know what the funny thing is? He has to get back because tomorrow morning he's going to announce some other sports event. I think he's a boxing match or something like that. So we're really proud of Sid. I know Chris Lewis, Psycho Lewis, sent me a video. I thought he was sending me a video of Andrew on stage. It was actually just Sid announcing the people. It was like him filming the chair in front of him, but it was just Sid's voice, this booming voice. And coming up next is the reigning and defending champion. Blah, blah, blah. You know, I was like, holy mackerel! I felt like I was at like a Mayweather fight or something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's
right.
That's his specialty.
Yeah, he did a great job. Let me ask you this question: what did you think of Keon Pearson winning the 212 class?
I thought I coached Noel, and I thought Noel had him prejudging. I did. He's bigger, he's harder, he's denser.
Pull up Noel's pictures. Hold on. This Noel.
And I don't think it's. I think it's apples and oranges in prejudging. I can understand that, but when it's hard to deny a lot of rock hard head to toe muscle when it's in that type of condition. Having said that, and
a lot of people don't know, Chris, he missed the 212 class, right? At the
New
York, yeah.
Yeah, where he was defending champion, and I botched that. So I told Noel, the only way you're going to make the weight is actually Noel stayed in the room for me since Friday to Friday.
Yeah, I was wondering why Chris sent me so many pictures of Noel, and then I realized you were in the room with him.
Sleeping next to me. He was sleeping next to me. And but let me say, it's very easy to see a unanimous decision on the. Even though I could make the argument for Noel winning the prejudge, and Keon was definitely better at the night show and deserving. But even if you backtrack it into the prejudging, it's very easy for me to see like straight ones from the judges because it's a physique that has a lot of flow, nice tie-ins, just a lot of unique intangibles, that make him look bigger than he is, that make him look actually a little bit more conditioned than he really is. Just, he's got, a lot going on in terms of shape and flow.
Chris, he's the perennial guy backstage that when you're pumping up to do the show and you look at him, you're like,
oh yeah, small.
Okay. And then he gets on stage and he starts hitting shots and the waistline and this and the muscles, the biceps popping out and the back flaring. And you're like, that wasn't the guy I saw backstage.
Dave, the first impression when he comes out, is small.
Yes.
Which shocked me. Like I was like, God, he looks tiny.
He's
and
short.
I thought there was no way he could win. And the minute he got going, I was like, God, he looks big in that shot. God, he looks huge in that shot. So when he hits the shots, a lot of things change. But he was excellent at night. Much sharper than prejudging, and this was his best package for sure.
I agree. It was the first time I've ever seen Keon with a sucked out face. Usually we always see that big round happy face. He looked like he suffered for this show. And you know what? That's what you got to do. You got to suffer if you want to be your best. Doesn't matter how many genetic gifts you have. And you can ask Flex Wheeler that because Wheeler should have won the Olympia many times had he come in at his best. And when you come in at your best and you see your face drawn like that and you know that the guy's been suffering, that's the result you get. You get first place votes unanimously. So.
Yeah. So he'll be a factor at the Olympia. I don't know what degree, but this package far surpasses the package that he's brought in the past in terms of, just.
I think he's the most dangerous guy in the 212 class when he's in shape.
Yeah, he could fall as high as he could land as high as second. I mean, this.
Who do you think beat him?
He has no chance against Clarita.
Oh, you don't think why? Because his conditioning isn't as good as Clarita?
No, just
they're about the same height.
Yeah, they are. Okay, and Sean's been training 20 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's been training 20
Sean's
years.
the Dexter Jackson of that division, let's face it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, he's been excuse me, he's been training 20 years. So we talked somewhere in the show about muscle maturity, and Sean has tremendous muscle maturity, and Keon, as tight as he is and as excellent as he is, the danger is just going up to. There's other guys, in that division with muscle maturity too, who could be a, problem for him. But, if he can just tweak things between here and there, he could, I think place as high as second.
I think it's going to be a battle between those two guys, and I think we're going to see if Keon can bring the conditioning that he brought here with a little bit better, maybe a little drier. I think he wins the Olympia. That's my prediction. We'll see if it's right. What about classic physique? Who did you like over there?
I like the I think he's from Korea. What is it? I don't know his name. Dave.
Jae Hun Park is amazing.
Yeah. He looked like he by far had the most polish. He exposed everyone. He had the most balance. He looked like a 212 guy. Like a lighter 212 guy who crossed over.
Right.
And I mean that in a good way. Because he just had no gaps in his physique. Outstanding legs, outstanding condition, super midsection, presented himself far better than everyone else in the lineup. I think it was pretty much a slam dunk for him. I don't know if how the judges started, on scorecards or whatever, but that's how I saw it.
On the scorecards, I think he got unanimous. He got first place votes, right across the board.
Yeah.
And you know what? He looks a lot bigger than a classic guy, doesn't he?
Well, that's why I said he reminds me of a 212 guy. I mean, he'd definitely win 212 shows if he picked the right one. There might be shows where people are, bigger and denser than him, or just bigger than him, but bigness isn't everything.
Pull up a good shot of him here. Hold on. There he is. It's a little Instagram shot of him, but he's got all the bells and whistles you look for in a classic guy. He's got that good vacuum. His abs are tight. Got frustrated quads. I mean, he wins this in my book, at least on conditioning. I think he just really dominated with really great conditioning.
Yeah, I agree with you.
How does he stack up against a guy like Bumstead and some of the top guys in the division?
Well, he was in the show last year, and I think he got lost a little bit in the shuffle because there were only 65 guys in the show.
Right.
I don't think he placed in the top 10, but he was one of the guys I remember that, just like, wow, what do you do with him? That's the division, when there's so many, that there's going to be people who were as low as 19th, who could have been 11th, because everyone's so close between 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. You're really nitpicking.
Right. Let me bring up a couple more names since we're talking about these guys. Logan Franklin to Jay's left. How did he look? He was, a lot of people talking about him being the favorite here.
Yeah, he was probably the favorite going in. I think that he could have won. His condition was good, but I think it was just Jay's condition was that much better where I don't think he really had a chance.
What about Robert Sims to Jay's right there? We've talked about him. He's like just a genetic crazy freak. He's very tall for the division. What'd you like about him? I mean, he's got the smallest waistline on stage for sure.
Yes, smallest waistline.
Look at that shot.
Great back, but the legs held him up. The legs from the side. There's not much of a hamstring drop.
Right.
Which means that they're thin, and then the legs from the front. I mean, he can get away with it because they're separated there. They are, they're hard. But if you take a second look, it's pretty easy to see that his legs need to come up.
Yeah, Tim's got straight second place votes here.
Yeah, that's no surprise.
And Logan got straight thirds. So you think that the show was called correctly, the classic?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Okay. It's interesting. I was actually at the Daytona Beach reptile breeder show all day today. I decided I was going to give myself that's my vacation. Some people go away to Hawaii. Some people go to Dubai. I go to the reptile breeder show. So my friend Paul and I drove over there. So I'm walking around, and I know a lot of the reptile breeders now, and they know me, and I have a reptile breeders. I have a reptile channel called Muscle Serpents University. A lot of people go in there and watch that, so they know me there. And so this woman and her son come up to me and they want to take a picture. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I take a picture with the son and I say hello to the mother. And actually, as they walked away, I said, and what a nice mother you have. And I was thinking, I hope that's his mother. Today you never know. They could have been a couple. So not 5 minutes later, the woman starts walking back alone towards me. I'm like, oh no, I probably insulted her. She's probably not his mother. It's probably his wife or something like that. And I'm like, oh shit. So she's like, I got to take a picture with you. She's like, for my husband. So I'm thinking, all right, I didn't screw it up. She obviously wanted to send it to her husband who's not there. So put my arm around her, take a picture. She's like, thank you so much. She walks away. Not 10 minutes later, Chris Aceto texts me a picture, and it's me and this woman. And I'm like, how did you get this picture? And he's like, I train her husband. And she sent the picture to the husband because she knew the husband, was trained by Chris, and then he sent it to Chris, obviously. And it's the reptile and the bodybuilding world are intermingled a lot more than people think. That was funny. You got me. I was completely confused. I'm like, how did you get this picture?
I knew you'd be. I knew you when you. I knew you just blew your mind. I said I couldn't wait. I said I'm gonna send. I'm like, what is this picture from? And she said, it's. My friend said it's my wife. She's at the reptile show and she's with Dave. And for all you RX listeners, I can't. The Texas Pro today. Can I get in touch with Dave via text, phone calls, messages? No. But when I figured like, oh, maybe something's wrong at home or something. And then I realized, he's at a reptile show. That explains it all.
Funny thing is that, I said, what I said? I was going to sit home and I was going to skip the reptile show, which, was almost a 4-hour drive each way. I was going to skip the show and I was going to just watch the live stream of Texas. And I said, you know what? I got to learn to delegate. I got Chris Aceto there. I got Sid Faruki emceeing the show 13 inches from each competitor. They're going to do a wrap up. They're going to have a great time there. I think I got the show. The show is covered. I am going to release myself from work duties for today, and I'm going to go and I'm going to go film 15 reptile videos at the Reptile Expo, which is just as much work actually. And but I enjoyed myself there, and I bought a few snakes too. I almost was out of there, and I hadn't bought anything, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy some. But I did pull a Dave Palumbo, and I wanted to tell you this. I know Chris likes when I pull Dave Palumbo's. Chris and I go to places, whether it be bodybuilding shows or I can go to reptile shows, and there's always people who know us someplace, right? I mean, you go to the cleaners, this guy knows you. You listen to the radio show. And a lot of people actually came up to me in the reptile place and they said they listened to our radio show and watched it all the time. And so we wanted to get lunch. It was like 12:30 there. And they had this like snack bar where they make disgustingly greasy food, like chicken fingers and, French fries. But when you haven't eaten in like 5 hours, you're starving to death. And so you don't care. So I'm like, let's just eat some junk food. Who cares? Then we can go and do some more, walking around the show. It's like the Arnold Classic basically for reptile shows. So we go out to the lobby and there's like 100 people online, Chris. And you know me pretty well by now over the last 20 years. What does Dave Palumbo do when there's a big line? Does he wait at the end?
No.
I go and I see. What do I do? I go and I see if I know someone on the line.
Yeah.
Right?
You go. If I was your wife should be embarrassed. I'm not.
Yeah, my wife wouldn't allow it. Yeah, she would be mortified. She'd go to the end of the line like you're supposed to do. And I was just
floats around until someone says, "Hey, Dave," and then he says, "Hey, you mind if I cut in here? I'm busy and I got to do my show." And
because you know what? There's someone on that line I know who wants to talk to me. I just have to let them know that I'm there so that I don't find out in an hour later that I could have actually got my food quicker. So I go and I walk the line, and of course, it like 3 people from the front. Stacy Crutchfield, who's my friend. Tom Crutchfield's like a legend in body. He's a legend in reptile keeping, but he also is a bodybuilding aficionado, and him and I are very good friends. So his wife's online. I'm like, Stacy. Stacy's like, oh, I haven't seen you. Did you see Tom? I said, yeah, I saw Tom before. I know he's sitting down because he's got a knee problem. I said, I want to buy you lunch, Stacy. So I get on the line with her. I buy her and Tom lunch in addition to myself and my friend Paul. And I saved at least 50 minutes of waiting on that line.
Oh, yeah.
And, but it was for and I got to tell you, I don't think I'm better than anyone, but I'm there to do footage and do interviews with the people who have booths there. So the faster I can get my food, the better I can go back in there and give people more publicity. And that's how I rationalized it. So
Yeah, I just say, what a justification.
Oh, but Chris, remember when you had to get your what was it? You had to pick up the tickets, and I had to get Mike Zeltzer to get your tickets.
Yes, at the Olympia, the line was like 10 miles long.
So you pulled the same thing. Yeah, you pulled the same shtick.
Yeah, I just people are like, hey, Chris, and I'm like, can I cut you? People, people say to me, no. Can I take a picture with you, Chris? I said, of course. I said, can I cut in? They say, no.
But Mike Z loves when we mention his name. So
yeah, Mike was in the front of that line.
Yes.
And I was like looking, and he said, "You want to cut in?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yeah," because the wait
he was
like
dying for you to cut. He was dying for you to cut in so you could talk to him. That's why.
The line was 2 hours because they had an issue with the machine.
Right.
People are like irate and angry, and paid good money for the tickets, but couldn't even pick them up.
Anyway, the good thing about this show that it took place in Texas is that the placings really came out the right way, pretty much by and far. And, that's always a good show, I always say. When people go home and everyone's like, you know what? It turned out the way it's supposed to. The placings were good. The competition was really good. The Texas Pro has turned into a really good show. And I think, my reasoning, because it's not because it's in Texas, although Sheila Brown and Freddie put on an awesome show over there. Obviously, they brought Sid in, so they're very smart. I know Tyler Mannion was the judge, but it's at a really good time of year, Chris, especially if you're trying to qualify for the Olympia, because it's not too early. It's close enough to the Olympia that guys have a nice off season leading up to the show, but it's not too late where it's the last minute. So
yeah, and it's run
very well,
impeccably well. And people are treated well, and thank you, Freddie, thank you, Sheila, thanks, Dave, for getting me a pass to be able to go wherever I want to go, because
they hooked you up over there.
Well, yeah, it just makes it great to be able to. There's nothing better than to be able to just sit in like the first 5 rows and actually watch the show.
Exactly. So, we lost Chris there for a second. Let's see if we get him back. Chris, you there? Oh, there he is.
That was an Amber Alert.
Oh, what?
Yeah, they wanted to bring Hunter and Andrew back to do one more round.
Chris, I got to say, and maybe Andrew can validate this with that black shirt you're wearing. You look very jacked. Have you been working out?
No, I did not touch a weight.
I don't believe you. I see an arm there, Chris.
No, there's no arms. And
no.
But I asked Milos for a cycle in case I decide to go to the gym.
Speaking of Milos, I got to tell you, I've been looking. Reagan Grimes put a lot of size on, didn't he?
Yeah.
He's huge. When he came out and was guest posing there with Jay, and Jay on his 50th birthday. I was like, holy mackerel, this guy put a tremendous amount of size on. I don't know what they're doing over there. Milos is feeding him over there, but he definitely made some serious improvements. I think he's going to be. What is his next show he's doing? Do you know?
Italy.
Oh, he is doing that Italy show. So that's coming up.
Yeah, that's right around the corner. That's September 4th.
How come he's the only smart U.S. guy who goes to Italy and Europe and all these European shows and does the shows? He probably makes a million connections over there. He has a great time. They take really good care of him. Why is he the only one who does that?
I don't know. I mean, you don't have a lot of people traveling.
You don't see a lot of U.S. guys traveling anymore.
Yeah. Let me see that.
He got huge. Wow. Did he put a lot? Milos did a good job, man. I don't know what. Like I said, I don't know what they're feeding him, but he looks like he gained 20 pounds from last year.
Maybe.
Interested to see how he does. Is that I guess that's the last. Is that the last qualifier?
Yeah, he's going up against Good Vito.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Good Vito's doing that show too.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go. I know you got a flight early tomorrow morning, and you probably have. If I know you, your car will be broken down by the time the airplane lands in Maine, and you'll have to hitchhike back home. So I don't want to. I want to let you get at least an hour or two of sleep. So.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Chris, for all the great reporting. And Andrew, if you're still there in the background, congratulations on the huge win in Texas and the qualification for the Mr. Olympia competition.
Thank you so much, bro. Thank you so much.
It couldn't have happened to a better guy. And enjoy your victory. Is Chris giving you a cheat meal tonight?
No.
I don't believe it. What about tomorrow morning? Tomorrow morning breakfast, Chris? Does he get a breakfast?
His flight leaves. He's going to the airport any minute.
I'm flying out at 4 a.m.
He leaves.
Are you going back to Dubai?
No, LA.
Oh, LA. Okay. What are you doing out there with Chris?
I've got some things to take care of, and then Thursday I'm flying back to Dubai. So yeah.
Okay. Have a safe flight, Andrew, and congratulations on the big win.
Thank you so much, bro. Thank you.
All right. And Chris, that's going to take us to the end of another episode of the Heavy Muscle Radio Show. We've been saying this for 15 years now. With Heavy Muscle Radio,
Truth hurts.
Sure does. Good night, everyone. We'll see you next week.